Welcome, Buckeye fans, to another episode of Buckeye Rising. I'm your host, Ace, and I'm here to take you beyond the box score to break down the whys and hows of the game. We just witnessed the number one Ohio State Buckeyes cruise to a decisive 42-3 win over the Minnesota Golden Gophers at Ohio Stadium. This victory improves the Buckeyes to 5-0 on the season and sends a clear message to the rest of the Big Ten. After a week of chatter about the offense, the Buckeyes' aerial attack delivered in spectacular fashion against the Gophers. Get ready to kick off. This is Buckeye Rising. Let's start with the quarterback, Julian Sayin. He had his most complete performance yet. The stat line is gorgeous. 23 of 27 passing for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is efficient, but the key was his renewed commitment to the deep ball, especially in the first half. He showed poise, but more importantly, he unleashed the cannon. That kind of confidence completely unlocked the offense and kept the Gopher defense on its heels all night long. Several times tonight, we watched Julian Sayin stand in the pocket as he was getting hit and yet still threw accurate passes down the field. That is a great development for him, and it's a big piece as we get into more teams that have tougher defenses. You can't talk about this offensive effort without shining a blinding spotlight on Carnell Tate. After a week of public discourse about the offense not connecting on deep throws against Washington, Tate went out and set new career highs with 9 receptions for 183 yards and a touchdown. His 48-yard catch late in the first quarter completely ignited the team, leading to the go-ahead score. And not to be overlooked, Jeremiah Smith had another phenomenal game. He snagged 7 receptions for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. The passing game seemed to be unstoppable. It was truly the backbone of this 42-point performance. One of the biggest moments of the night took place on a return where we had Brandon Ennis throwing to Lorenzo Styles Jr. for a huge return. It ended up netting over 40 yards. That is what I like to see, is some creativity. If we're not going to be able to run straight at them on returns, let's do something that makes them think twice. If we can pull somebody out of the scrum to go cover a random guy on the sideline, that could pop some really big returns. I look forward to seeing what they can do next. One of the biggest momentum shifting plays happened on a 4th and 1 when Minnesota, who was down 14-3, decided to go for it on their own 44-yard line. That is a highly aggressive call. But the Buckeyes defense, led by Caleb Downs and Bo Atkinson, completely stoned the rushing attempt for no gain, turning the ball over on downs. The immediate consequence on the very next play, Julian Sayin connected with Carnell Tate for a 44-yard touchdown. That 8-second sequence from stuffing the run to scoring the touchdown turned an 11-point lead into an 18-point blowout, and the Gophers never recovered. Let's talk defense. My defensive MVP has to be the entire situational excellence that the defense brought. They allowed Minnesota to chew up some time and yards on the opening drive that led them to a field goal. But after that, they slammed the door shut. The Gophers were held to 162 total yards for the game and only 94 passing yards. Buckeyes had multiple sacks, including one from linebacker Arvell Reese in the second quarter. But the best stat, the Golden Gophers ran 8 separate series after their opening field goal that resulted in a punt, a turnover on downs, or the half ending. That's total dominance by the defense. Matt Patricia's defensive strategy was to let the Minnesota offense have some short gains, but ensure that there were no explosive plays, and it worked perfectly. The Gophers had 5 3-and-outs and were held to just 11 first downs for the entire game. Linebacker Sonny Styles continues to be a central figure. The entire front 7 consistently bottled up Minnesota's running game. It was really great to see Peyton Pierce getting out there and getting 7 tackles and one of those for a loss. When you hold a Big Ten opponent to 3 points, you are executing the defensive plan at an elite championship level. Coach Day had a perfect night managing the game. The only minor blip was the missed 53-yard field goal early on, but he quickly responded by trusting his offense to convert and not settle. His best decision was clearly the first play call after the 4th-and-1 stop in the second quarter, then that deep shot to Carnell Tate. Day knew the Gophers' morale was low, and he went for the kill shot immediately instead of a conservative 3-play sequence. That type of fearless, aggressive play calling is what elevated this offense to a new height tonight. The coaching effort that sealed the win was simply maintaining the high standards and getting every player involved. The Buckeyes didn't let up. They scored 2 more touchdowns in the fourth quarter, including a 9-yard pass from Sayin to Jeremiah Smith and a rushing touchdown by Lincoln Keenholz. Coach Day was able to get some younger players in for meaningful snaps while still maintaining the shutout on the defensive side of the ball throughout the second half, which is the perfect way to finish a dominant performance while at home. And that's the game. But before we go, here's my extra point. The biggest takeaway from this game is that the Ohio State's offense is finally finding its identity. An offense that is willing and able to execute a lethal aerial attack that capitalizes on its speed and talent at the receiver position. When Julian Sayin is dealing the ball with this much accuracy and we have Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, this offense is impossible to stop. This team is clearly peaking during the right time. Next up, the Buckeyes will travel to Champaign next Saturday, October 11th, for a battle of the Illibuck Trophy against the Illinois Fighting Illini. That game will kick off at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Now, for my rising star of the week, who else? It has to be Carnell Tate. Not only did he post his career best numbers with 183 yards on 9 catches and a touchdown, but he did so by finally proving he can be one of the Buckeyes' premier deep threats. After the first quarter, Tate had 3 catches of 44, 48, and 49 yards, including the 44-yard touchdown. He was the catalyst that unlocked the entire offense, and it allowed the Buckeyes to put 42 points on the board. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Buckeye Rising. Thank you for tuning in and rising with me. We'll be back next week to break down the battle for the Illibuck against Illinois. Until then, OHIO, go Bucks.